And we're back. Season 3, Episode 1, the Ed Newsstand podcast. This week, to help you, your students, and your parents get organized, I have found 5 different resources for organizing your Google Classroom. Whether you are teaching your students distance, whether you have a hybrid model set up at your school, or whether you are teaching your students in person, you need to keep your Google Classroom organized. So we're going to go over those 5 resources and point out various blog posts and give you some ideas for the best ways that teachers have found to organize their classroom. Let's get started. We've got 5 different resources that we are going to go through. And anytime you see my little Bitmoji with a foam finger, that is a clickable link that will take you somewhere else. In this case, it takes you to a drawing that I set up all about Edtech Emma. And Edtech Emma, hybrid teacher for the past 2.5 years, so she does know a thing or two about running Google Classroom in a situation where students are distance learning and not such a crazy time with COVID and everything that seems to be happening in school districts now. So she talks about with her organization of her Google Classroom, she likes to create topics, and I don't want to get too much into the nuts and bolts of how Google Classroom works, but just to say that creating topics really helps everybody stay organized. And we're going to go through various ways that you and ways that you can name your topics, but just get into the habit of creating topics. So first of all, when you create topics, you can drag and drop assignments into all the different topics you want, whether that's, like I said, assignments, questions, or other materials. You can drag and drop the topics around. You can drag and drop the different assignments around too. She wants her units to be named and the assignment types have dates and everything with them as well. Specifically for her organization, she likes to put at the very top of the week at a glance to kind of give the kids an idea of what's coming up. If parents are also looking at that with their child, they have an understanding of what's coming up. So she's summarizing assignments. She's providing material with a Google Doc attached. And then following that, she's always labeling her other topics by week number. So for example, you'd have week at a glance at the top, and then we are going into our first week of school currently. So we would have week number 1, and then in there, we would have all of our assignments. At the very bottom of her topic, she likes to have class material, where she has her syllabi, any other helpful links, any informational videos that she might need to for students to maybe get jump started with working in Google Classroom. If you want to read the entire blog post and find more resources for Emma, you can click on the little link at the bottom and it will link right out to her blog post, edtechemma.com. And you can read all about this and look for many other great resources that she has available on her website. Next, let's talk about maneuvering the middle. So I found this website, and the reason that I share this website is because they have an awesome template. If you are looking for templates to help yourself stay organized within your Google Classroom. So let's just show you this. So this is their template. And the way this works is they have a daily assignment hub. So when you go to their website here, Maneuvering the Middle, and we'll click on their link and I'll show you what their template looks like. When you go to their website, you can get this template for free. So they have it's through Google Slides. So first off, they have a template that talks about what is coming up for the week. So this is all in one Google Slide document that you get. You get what's happening in the week ahead to kind of tell students what's going on. And then you get a daily slide for each day of the week that's coming up. So then you can tell students what's coming up with your objective, or maybe you put your standard in the purple box. You talk about announcements, anything big that might be coming up for the week. And then you can link all of your assignments right here at the bottom of the slide deck. If you're curious about how this works, Maneuvering the Middle has also posted a 7.5-minute video for you to watch about how to utilize the Google Slide a little bit better for your classroom. Next, let's look at Ditch That Textbook, a great book if you haven't read it. I've read it cover to cover a couple of times, taken notes. I have all kinds of stickies in mine. But check out Ditch That Textbook. They have a lot of different things to help you stay organized. But the biggest thing here is they want you to take the structure and make it personal. So however you decide to organize your Google Classroom, whether it's by week, by unit, by subject, or by file type, just think about what works best for you. There's a lot of different examples that you can see here on this slide for helping you stay organized. You can also organize yourself by subtopics. So you can organize by lesson, by chapter, by name. He also likes to abbreviate things. So specifically, if you're looking at naming conventions with abbreviations here, I'm just going to order this to the front and show you kind of what that looks like. So you can see here they have unit, unit 1, chapter 1, lesson 1, the water cycle. So they've used the topic like this, and then next they've gone unit 1, chapter 1, lesson 2 for weather patterns. So if you are working your way through the book chronologically, maybe this is a good way for you to stay organized. Another way that he says to stay organized is to use emojis and kind of abbreviations. So you can see on this one here that this one, they have a research project. So he has abbreviation RES and then maybe a folder, or social studies SS, or down here you've got science with maybe a little microscope. And if you yourself are a Mac user, if you press Control Command Spacebar, and you will get the emoji keyboard that pops up right on your screen to utilize that. Otherwise, if you don't have that, you can use the emoji keyboard extension in your Chrome browser, and then you can get all kinds of emojis. So emojis are another good way for you to either stay organized in your Google Classroom for your topics, or maybe it's just in your assignments specifically. If you click on Ditch That Textbook, you will be taken to the Ditch That Textbook website. You can look at the 3 strategies and read those in even a little bit more depth and see the pictures with a little bit more clarity on them as well. But it's given you a lot of great resources. You can see here the extension for the emoji keyboard that you can download and get all kinds of emojis to utilize in Google Classroom. Ditch That Textbook, a lot of great resources to use. Next, we're going to take a look at Shake Up Learning. Shake Up Learning and Alice Keeler's Teacher Tech, very similar, a lot of great ideas, not only for Google Classroom, but also for Google in general. So you can see here that Shake Up Learning talks about packaging assignments. And one thing that they like to do is they like to package their assignments by number. And the big thing with that is when you package them by number, everything stays organized numerically. But you want to make sure to use 3 numbers when you are organizing, because if you just use 50 and you get to assignment 500, maybe you're doing it for the year, then 500 and 50 are going to be together. Where if you choose 050, everything with a 0 is going to come first. Whether you have a 10 or you have 100 or you have 11 or whatever you have, if you use the 3-number structure, you're going to be able to name your assignments and keep them ordered a lot better. Make sure to include detailed directions, and that doesn't go for just written directions, that goes for video directions as well. Make sure that you are providing written directions and video directions, especially if you have a very complicated assignment, because every student learns differently. And maybe your students aren't just the ones who are learning. Maybe your parents are also watching those videos and they learn a different way from their students. So providing very detailed directions and in various ways can help everybody in the family with the assignment that's coming up. Make sure you have student-friendly learning goals. Again, help students and parents understand the purpose and context of the week. If you want to provide standards, you can also provide standards. Make sure that you provide how this assignment is going to be assessed, because that will help parents and students better understand why they got the grade they got. You can provide the assessment either through a rubric that you attach through a Google Doc. You can use the rubric that is built into Google Classroom. A lot of different ways for you to provide how the assignment will be assessed. If you are teaching in person, make sure you can provide some ways on how class time will be allotted. We will give 10 minutes each day to this assignment. You will get 30 minutes at the end of class to work on it. And then if there's any extra time available, provide what the students will do with their extra time. Make sure to include your time and date. Well, not necessarily time. Make sure to include the due date on your assignment. That is really going to help students and parents understand when things are due. And if your Google Classroom is tied to your student information system, that will populate in there as well. And everybody has an idea and know the expectations for when the assignment is due. If it is a collaborative assignment, make sure you provide guidelines for that. That can be in your directions or provided separately. And then make sure you provide directions on the turn-in process, whether that's through screenshots, a how-to document. It's very important that if students, especially if this is the first time they're using Google Classroom, they understand how to turn things in. If you package everything well and all in one place, like you can see here from the example, students and parents will better understand the assignment and be more successful on the assignment all the way through the process. If you click on the links here, you'll find other resources. This is the top little 10 ways to help you stay organized in your Google Classroom. So you can kind of read through that. You can also click on this link here to look at some of the naming conventions and get a better picture on the different naming conventions. So kind of check that out. You can listen to the podcast. And then one other thing, if you use the stream in Google Classroom and you are kind of tired of classwork, when you post classwork always clogging up your stream, you can disable assignment alerts in your stream by just going into the settings and turning off. You can hide the notifications for classwork. That will be very helpful for you, especially if you find that your stream gets pretty clogged and the announcements that you're providing for students in the stream kind of get missed and overlooked. Last but not least, we are going to look at Alice Keeler and the way that she likes to organize her classes. So she talks about consistency in naming conventions. So she sticks with the 3 number naming conventions. Again, will help you keep them in chronological order. You can also use short codes for the quarter, for the type of the assignment, for the due date. So we kind of talked about this a little bit with Ditch That Textbook. So you can see that she has chapter 1. It's a test. So you can look at some of these other different codes to incorporate into your Google Classroom. And then finally, the one thing that she really likes to use is hashtags. So if you use hashtags with your assignments, you can help filter those assignments in your Gmail. So if you are looking for things, if you are looking for hashtag assignment 26, that's a lot easier than just looking for maybe assignment 26. And if you teach your students to use hashtags when they provide comments in their assignments, you can better search through your inbox by filtering your responses, whether they are hashtag late, hashtag help, hashtag urgent. So there are a lot of great resources that she has for naming conventions in her Google Classroom. If you click on the link, you'll take right to this blog post, and you can see exactly how she utilizes her topics and her naming conventions. The last thing I have for you is the Wakelet. So I have compiled a lot of different resources from various blogs for you to work through. If you click on the Wakelet button, you'll be taken to the Wakelet, and you can see here they are organized by blogger. So Alice Keeler is at the top. Whether you are a beginner, an intermediate, or an advanced Google Classroom user, there are a lot of resources here that you can kind of read through, see which ones jump out at you. Instead of going to their website and having to search around, I went and found some various resources for you already. Then we have some Shake Up Learning resources here. You can get to those. Tips for teachers, some Ditch That Textbook resources, multiple resources for that. Maneuvering the Middle has a resource that we talked about, and Edtech Emma has her resource on here as well. I encourage you to check out the Ed Newsstand newsletter and all the resources. Also, check out the resources for the people that I linked to in this newsletter. They have a ton of resources. They put in a lot of hard work, and I know that they would love to have you visit their site. Thank you for tuning in this week. As always, you can find me on Twitter at ReynoldsTroy. Find old episodes of the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on Instagram at ednewsstand, and you can download my app to stay up to date with my content by scanning the QR code or by going to ednewsstand.glideapps.io and saving the app to your home screen. You can also find all the resources I just mentioned in my newsletter and watch the video I made on my website at ednewsstand.weebly.com. I'm Troy Reynolds. We'll see you next time on the Ed Newsstand Podcast.